Okay, so something just happened that can never be undone. The 20 millionth Bitcoin was just mined. Out of 21 million that will ever exist, we are officially in the final stretch. There's only 1 million left, and it's gonna take over 100 years to get them. But that's not even the wildest thing that happened this month. A $9 trillion Wall Street giant just decided to build its own crypto bank. The Fed is about to get a new boss who, well, loves turning on the money printer, and it turns out Jeffrey Epstein was trying to get into Bitcoin back in 2011. Yeah, that Epstein. This is everything you missed. Let's get into it. All right, let's start with the big one, the thing that is literally written into the code of our time. On March 8th, 2026, the Bitcoin network mined its 20 millionth coin, block height 940,000. Look, this is a milestone that's been coming for over a decade. And now that it's here, it changes the game forever. And if you're kind of new to this, let me explain why this is so much more than just a number. When Satoshi Nakamoto created Bitcoin, they hard-coded one unbreakable rule. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin, period. No government can print more, no CEO can vote to increase the supply, it's just written into the math. You know, compare that to the US dollar, where trillions can be and are created with a few keyboard strokes. As of this month, 95% of all the Bitcoin that will ever exist is now out there in circulation. Now, here's the part that really kind of bakes your brain. That last 5%, that final million coins, they're not coming out fast. The whole network is designed to release them slower and slower and slower over time through these things called halvings. This timeline shows the next 10 of them, each one cutting the new supply in half, stretching all the way to the year 2140. That's 114 years from now. Your great-great-grandchildren will be alive when the final sliver of a Bitcoin is mined, assuming, they don't blow their inheritance on a meme coin called Doge Elon Mars, which, let's be honest, they probably will. Gold is valuable because it's physically scarce. Bitcoin is valuable because it's mathematically scarce, and that supply just got permanently, irreversibly tighter. So, the long-term code is telling a story of profound, unchangeable scarcity, but the short-term market, it's telling a story of pure panic. The Fear and Greed Index is at 18. That's extreme fear. But fear often blinds people to the bigger picture. And speaking of people who had, let's just say, a unique view of the big picture, let me tell you a story that absolutely nobody saw coming. So, the Department of Justice released another batch of the Epstein files, and buried deep inside thousands of pages of redacted documents was a little note that made the entire crypto world do a collective double-take. An email from June 2011. The email references Jeffrey Epstein wanting to, quote, contact the Bitcoin guys. 2 words. Bitcoin. Like someone explaining the internet to their confused grandma. Now just think about that for a second. This is 2011. Most of us didn't even have smartphones that worked right, and somehow this guy was already looking into it? In June 2011, Bitcoin was trading for under $1. Now, I'm not here to speculate on what a convicted sex trafficker wanted with a pseudonymous, untraceable digital currency. I'm sure it was for totally innocent reasons. But what I will say is this. A sub-$1 asset in 2011 is now a $67,000 asset in 2026. That's a 67,000x return. The takeaway isn't about Epstein. It's about how early the deepest players get positioned. The blockchain doesn't care who you are. It just keeps adding blocks. Okay, time for a palate cleanser. Let's move from the shadows into the light. Because while everyone was distracted by the charts and the Epstein files, the biggest players on Wall Street just quietly declared war on the entire crypto industry. And I mean that in the best way possible. Let me paint you a picture. Morgan Stanley, one of the oldest, most powerful financial institutions on the planet. They manage almost $9 trillion in assets. These are the guys in the $1,000 suits who have never once unironically used the word "wag me" in a sentence. And this month, they effectively said, we're done renting. We're building our own house. They are building their own crypto bank. They filed for a brand new National Trust Bank charter for an entity called Morgan Stanley Digital Trust. It's a bank designed specifically for holding, trading, and managing crypto, all under federal supervision. Their head of digital assets literally said, we need to build this internally, we can't just rent the technology. Translation? They were using services like Coinbase and Anchorage to handle their crypto, and now they've decided it's so important they have to own the entire process themselves. And here's the part that no one is talking about. At the same time, Morgan Stanley quietly filed an application for a Solana ETF. Not just Bitcoin, not just Ethereum, Solana, the chain that half of crypto Twitter still calls a meme coin casino. A $9 trillion institution is officially telling the SEC Solana is a real asset class. Wall Street isn't dipping their toes in anymore. They are cannonballing into the deep end, and they're building the pool themselves. Now, Morgan Stanley building a crypto bank is a paradigm shift. But what if I told you there's something even bigger on the horizon? Something that could make everything else look like a warm-up act. It has nothing to do with code. It has to do with one man's job coming to an end. Okay, I'll make this quick because monetary policy can be dry. But this could be the single biggest catalyst for crypto this year. Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, his term is up in May. Trump gets to pick his replacement. Why does this matter? Well, the Fed controls interest rates. High rates mean money is expensive, risk assets like crypto go down. Low rates mean money is cheap, and that cheap money has to find a home, and it always finds crypto. Powell has been extremely cautious. He's the guy who reads every single Yelp review before picking a restaurant. Trump, on the other hand, wants rate cuts, and he wants them yesterday. The frontrunner to replace Powell is a guy named Kevin Hassett. If he gets the job, the money printer could go brrr, and every single major crypto bull run in history has happened during a period of cheap money. So we have a foundation of Bitcoin scarcity, a massive accelerant from Wall Street adoption, and a potential tidal wave of cheap money from the Fed. It's the perfect storm. But where is the money actually going? Well, the on-chain data is telling a very, very specific story. This is where we put on our detective hats. The recently launched XRP ETFs just pulled in $1.37 billion, 43 consecutive days of positive inflows. Meanwhile, during that same period, Bitcoin ETFs were seeing net outflows. The smart money isn't leaving crypto, it's rotating within crypto. It's flowing out of the king, Bitcoin, and into altcoins. And there are other clues. Bitcoin dominance, which is just the percentage of the total crypto market cap held in Bitcoin, is showing the exact same topping pattern it showed right before the last two massive altcoin runs. The Altcoin Season Index, which measures if it's more profitable to hold altcoins or Bitcoin, just crossed 55 and is climbing. And tech upgrades like Solana's Alpenglow are making the underlying networks faster and cheaper. The money is rotating, the pattern is forming, the tech is ready. And just in case you thought that was it, here's everything else that happened. Let's do this fast. Trump officially classified crypto as a national security technology. That puts it on the same level of importance as AI and nuclear power. The Sovereign Wealth Fund of Kazakhstan bought $350 million of crypto for its national reserves. Nation-states are now officially in the game. While the broader market was bleeding out, AI-related tokens surged over 600%. The market is screaming that AI plus crypto is the narrative. Indiana passed a Bitcoin rights bill, making it the first state to explicitly protect the right to self-custody or own crypto keys by law. Hong Kong is set to issue its first stablecoin licenses this month, while the UK picked 4 firms for its regulatory sandbox. The global race for a regulated stablecoin is on. So let's just zoom out. Bitcoin just became programmatically scarcer forever. Wall Street is finished experimenting and is now building foundational infrastructure. The Federal Reserve is about to get a leadership change that could unleash a flood of capital. The money is already rotating into altcoins, and through all of this, everyone is terrified. Terrified people don't position themselves for what's coming next. They sell the bottom, they miss the turn. But you're still here, you watched this far, which tells me you're not like everyone else. The biggest shifts happen quietly, while the crowd is looking the other way. So the only question that matters is this: what's the one move you see that no one else does? Thanks for tuning in, stay curious, and remember, the last time everyone was this scared was the last best time to be paying attention.